Hey, brother, we got on.
I'm so sorry. This is a circus. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've just been talking about you.
Good. Good. How's everything?
Good. I've just been talking about you and Rhythmia, the Life Advancement Center, and so I've already introduced you. You know, people know that you're a philanthropic entrepreneur and author, a transformational coach, the CEO and founder of the Life Advancement Center known as Rhythmia in Costa Rica, the only licensed medical facility for ayahuasca, the indigenous plant for transformation. We know we got that. And they know I'm there at least twice a year teaching, and all of the modalities that you have there, the meditation, the yoga, the deep cleansing, special kind of colonic, the plant medicine, the Answer Is You class, the breath work, the farm to table food, the swimming pool. You got everything for life advancement. So I wanted people to get an understanding as to who you were and what has happened to you. I mean, pre-agape, pre-plant medicine, who was Gerard Powell?
He was a bad guy. Bad guy. But thanks to you, I mean, when I first met you, that I was really on death's door, right? I was wealthy, or not super wealthy, but wealthy enough. And
right.
You know, I just sold a company for $90 million, so I was in good shape. But I was an alcoholic, a drug addict, and more than that, I was just a very sad, I'd say suicidal guy that disliked people. I disliked everyone, and I wound up at Passages Malibu, and that's how I met you. I was in Passages, and they kept, you know, I kept going to the mall in Topanga on Sunday, and finally the bus left Passages and went to Agape, and then when I met you, and there's a funny story behind that, but I met you, and it changed my life, and it really did change my life. And from Agape drove me to do different things, and finally I arrived at plant medicine, and when plant medicine happened, then everything came together for me. And you know, I wasn't a person that went to Agape now and then. I went every Sunday. As a matter of fact, I moved from Pennsylvania to Los Angeles because of you, Rev. So
wow.
So for me, when you hit me, and the funniest thing, do you want me to tell the story if you want?
You can tell the story. I remember one thing you said. You can tell your story, but I remember you coming up to me one time. I think you had taken boga. A boga, is that what it's called? And you said, Rev, this shaman took me to take this boga, and everything you've been saying is true. I said, Jerry, I know it's true. Now you know it's true.
I couldn't get over that. And that to me, Rev, like this is what happened. Like when I heard your words, they were your words. I borrowed your faith to keep me alive. I didn't have faith of my own, but I borrowed your faith. And then after borrowing your faith and going and having a death experience in ayahuasca and getting to the other side of life, getting to the death side of life, I came back. I remember calling you and I said, hey, I told you, don't worry about it. Everything you're saying is true. I love that.
That was funny.
Now when I think about it, it's funny, you know?
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it because, you know, you were, you know, I tell people, you know, if they're earnest and sincere, they will actually have a breakthrough. And you were earnest and sincere about your breakthrough. You really, you know, based on your pain and suffering and the fact that you didn't like yourself and all the things you just mentioned, you were really searching.
Yeah.
I mean, I assigned a minister just to you.
I know you did. And I got to tell you that story. I want to tell you this. You know how that happened, right? I went to Agape and I saw you talking. And at that time, Rev, that was the first day that I heard the word manifestation. I was from Scranton, Pennsylvania. People don't talk don't use the word manifestation, right? And when I heard you talk, and I was a devout Catholic, and when I say devout Catholic, I mean I sinned like the devil and went to church occasionally. That's you know.
You were carrying Catholic guilt.
I was carrying Catholic guilt, and I was full of it. And but I went to agape, and when this is while I was in passages, and when they said you said God, and then you said she. I said to the guy next to me, what the F did he just say? And the guy said, God, the mother. And I'm like, you don't believe that shit, do you? And he's like, yeah, we all kind of do. And I got super scared because in Catholicism, you can go to hell for being in a place, and I thought of all the shit that I did, God gets me on this technicality to get me to hell, and then, and
Mother, Father, God.
then I said, while I was standing in agape, it was my 6th or 7th week at passages. I thought, holy God, I understand why I was born. I was born to set Michael Beckwith straight and let him know that God is a man. On my honor. And dude, that's the truth. And then do you remember I had one of the guys that was
you were looking for the cracks in my teaching.
I was. So I got one of the guys that was on Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory to call someone in your office. He knew someone in your office, and I got a lunch with you and Reverend Kathleen. And I got drunk at that lunch. And when I was done, you said to me, I'm going to give you Reverend Kathleen until you get better. And he said, and you helped me out, and you gave me her Rev, and that was the start of my change. After that, every Wednesday night and every Sunday, without fail, I was down there with you, and again, I was borrowing your faith.
Right.
Until I could get 3 days further. Borrowing your faith, getting 3 days further. And then when I died on the medicine, I saw that everything that you said is true. There's nothing but love. Nothing but love. It's the thing that holds us together. There's nothing to be afraid of. Not a thing in death to be afraid of. Nothing to be afraid of. And that the world and this thing here is our gift. And every second of it is precious beyond words, and we're all in it together. And I thought, holy shit, this guy knew what he was talking about, because I met a bunch of dead people, and it's the same thing. It's just, it was beautiful. And then I remember calling you and saying, hey, don't worry about it, like you were worried about it. Don't worry about it. Everything you're saying is true.
I remember that. That gave me a lot of laughter.
I love
a lot of laughter. So everyone, if you're just tuning in right now, you're just signing on. I'm speaking to Gerard Powell, and he's the founder and a CEO of Rhythmia, the Life Advancement Center, and he's sharing a little bit about his journey from being unconscious, alcoholic, drug user, and other things as well, to moments of clarity, sobriety, and insight that allowed him to actually have this vision. Because I remember I sent you down the path of different modalities because you had some things going on with your body temple.
Yeah.
And then you had a vision of actually pulling these things together, plus more, and actually dedicating your life to having this center where people could come and transform their life. Before I get there, I want to ask you another question, because you also went through traditional psychotherapy. And you found that was good, but a little limiting as well. When you bumped into higher spiritual teachings and plant medicine, you found that there was a little limitation to traditional psychotherapy. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, the thing is, so this is the truth. For 5 years, I was in psychotherapy 5 days a week with the best therapist that I believe is in the world. And he's my partner here now. So
you stole him from the psychotherapy work. You stole him.
Now, what's really beautiful is where you have some psychotherapy, right, or you understand the basics of it, and then your teachings, which kind of what rhythmia is your teachings, right? The answer is you is here all the time, every day, and your teachings, and then these other modalities plus plant medicine. And Rev, this is just the truth. I'm a math guy. I keep numbers on everything. So we've had, as a matter of fact, this coming week we will have had our 8,000th guest. That's 32,000 plant ceremonies. That's out of those 8,000, 96.23% of them. So that's almost 97 out of every 100 say that they had a life-changing miracle during their stay. And 6 months later, they get another survey. 6 months later, 92.71 say that miracle is still alive in their life. And this was the week that changed their life. That's a combination of the things that saved my life. What saved my life? Michael Beckwith, Jeff McNary, who's here with me, and then plant medicine. The three of them in one place. They get the teachings of Michael Beckwith, the benefits of Jeff, the plant ceremonies, and they get me, and I went through it. And this is the difference between being healthy, awake, and alive, and all other things. Like there's no you can't have a drink. There's no you can't do this. There's none of that. You're walking around. As a matter of fact, this is what I say to people all the time. And this is not a rehab center. This is a life advancement center. A lot of people that come here might have a drinking thing, which is so funny because they only think they have a drinking thing. It's never a drinking thing, right? It's just this is all such a crazy.
That's a symptom. That's a symptom. The drinking thing is a symptom.
It's a symptom of something, of a little bit of this, and with a little bit of that goes away. And what I'm saying is, I watch people every week walk away from alcohol, walk away from cigarettes, walk away from the things that they don't want, and never be tied to it. They can do it and not be tied to it. It doesn't run their life. All of a sudden, what's running their life is hope, joy, prosperity, love. Like all of a sudden, this is where they're running from. And from here, you tend to take care of your body better. You tend to eat better. You tend to have more fun. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just on fire for it, and I'm on fire for you. When I met you, I knew you had some street in you, and I'm like, this guy's a little too slick. And and as I got to know you, and as I got to know like how sincere you are as a human, how I watch how many people you talk to and never say no to anybody, and where your heart is. You won me over so hard. You're one of my closest friends, and you're one of the guys that I have the most respect for in the world. And none of this stuff, I didn't say shit, I got close, but none of this stuff would have happened, Rev, without you here. Like rhythmia is here because you grabbed me, Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Jerry, and I appreciate the fact that you actually took your own transformation, combined it with your skills, because you were an individual that had a lot of business savvy. You still do. You have a lot of business savvy. You have a lot of experience in putting things together, and you took your genius that you used to make money and combined that genius with your own transformation and built what I call a transformational hotel. You have a hotel that, it's not Heartbreak Hotel, it's Transformational Hotel. So people check in, but that person doesn't check out. Somebody else new checks out of that hotel.
That's so cool.
And yeah, that's how I always see it, because I see people when they first get there. When I arrive, there are people that are leaving, and then there are people that are coming. And the people that are leaving, they always, we have a conversation there in the lobby, and they're saying, "Oh my God, your teachings were great, and I'm not the same person I was when I got here." And then I see the new people coming in, and then I see them all week going through all the modalities, and then I see them when they're leaving, and they're different, and they can't wait to bring back their husbands, their wives, their girlfriends, or whatever. And people bring back their mothers, and their dads, because they want their family to understand their transformation, because they know they're never going to be fitting back in that box again. So I've always called it the transformational hotel. You check in, but somebody else checks out. but let me ask you this. Yeah. What was that?
Go ahead.
I didn't hear you.
No, I said my goal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
My goal is to get down here to retire with me one day.
You've been telling me that for the last 4 years.
That's the truth.
Let's not make everybody afraid that I'm going to leave. One day I will be in Costa Rica for a long period of time, because I love it. I was going to Costa Rica pre-rhythmia. It was one of my favorite spots on the planet. So when you called me that day and said that you were going to start this Life Advancement Center, do you have my support? And then you said you had found a place in Costa Rica. I was like, yes, that's one of my favorite spots on the planet. And the government, no army, they put their money into education and health.
Right.
The people are really, really beautiful. It's like the perfect spot. He has individuals there that are really from a deep lineage.
Yep.
He has Taita there. That's, I'll let you tell him who he is. I'll let you share. But he has people that have strong years of lineage of the shamanistic teachings and practices. So you're not going. It's not a party. Where you have ayahuasca on the weekend and everybody's having a great time. These are very sacred journeys that they go on with people that are steeped in plant medicine. So, and then he has a medical facility. He has all the safety protocols. As a matter of fact, I was there in January teaching, and his place was as safe as the NBA playoffs in that bubble during COVID. He had the same protocol. You had to take a COVID test to get in. Yep. And then you took a COVID test when you left before you got on the plane to fly back to wherever you were flying. And once you got in that bubble of rhythmia, you couldn't leave, so that everybody in that bubble had tested negative. So you could be in the bubble of rhythmia, knowing that every single person there, the staff and the guest, were COVID free. So they do a really good job of safety protocols. It's not just, we're going to go do plant medicine. It's really, really safe. It's really a profound space with great teachers. We got thought leaders that come down there. It's really great. Yeah. And you're different from the person I met you. I mean, you are a different guy,
Night
you
and
still
day.
have your laughter and you're joking and you're happy, but your intention is really sincere about your own growth and about the people that come to Rhythmia. You really want them to have their miracle, their insight, their revelation.
Yes, 100%. And I see some guests are saying, what's the guest name? My name's Gerard Powell. The place is Rhythmia, RYTHMIA. And just go to rhythmia.com. By the way, I do want to say this. We are the world's #1 rated resort on TripAdvisor of any type in the world. We have the highest customer rating, with over, I think, 1,300 reviews. Amazing. Yeah,
it is. It is. Now, you wrote this book, The Moon Said, and people don't really know where that word came from. That word is a nautical term. Basically, it comes from, they used to stack manure inside of the ship, and from time to time it would explode because of the the condensation of the oils and the gases. So they started stacking it on top of ships, and they put a word, they put stack high in transit. And then later on, that word stack high in transit was just abbreviated to, so that was the term, that's where that word comes from. It means
I
to
love
stack
that.
high in transit, stack the manure high in transit. So it wasn't just like a profane word. It was a nautical term. So, so your book basically details your movement through your own transformation. And one of the things that happens when you took your journey is that you actually flew to the moon, and the moon gave you information.
Yeah, the moon told me the whole thing. The moon told me everything, like just about the things that I called you about. Like it told me how things work, you know, why you have this splinter in life, and the whole goal is to make it come back together. And then once it's together, when you're merged with your soul, that life is easier and less painful, and all disease, all addictions and disorders come from this split. And once you're back together, you got to keep that stuff together, and you keep that together through your daily practice and through your actions and all of the things that you teach, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was flying back from Rhythmia, obviously in the van, you have your goodbye message to the people on the way to the airport, and you did it very well. And one of the things that you shared that I appreciated is that you may have had an insight or a revelation or a miracle. It doesn't necessarily mean you to go out and just change your life. It might mean your life is going to stay the same, but you'll be different in your life.
Correct.
Or it might mean that some people means that they have a life change. They realize that they're in the wrong place, the wrong job, whatever, and they do change. But in many cases, you go back to your same life, but you see it differently because you're a different person. And I really appreciated that, because that's what we teach. You actually grounded people in the awareness that just because you had this big revelation doesn't mean you're going to go home and throw everything away. It means that you're going to be in your life more conscious and more deliberate and more loving and more giving and more creative. And you did a good job. I meant to tell you that. That was a really good summarization.
Thanks, Rev.
Spiritual teaching. Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to talk about COVID too for 1 second. Like the week you were here, we had 85 people or something. Yeah. So we always have, like, in non-COVID times, we had 90 or more than that, but not one case of COVID. We test them when they get here before they enter the resort. We test them when they leave, and not one case of COVID. Ever since COVID started, we haven't had one case of customer COVID. So our protocols are tight. This is a medical center. We're licensed to give people their COVID test for the trip home back to the United States. We got you. And then the nicest thing, when people get here, they rip their mask off, they start hugging people, because it's not here. You know, it's just not here. So and you don't need a COVID test to come to Costa Rica. We test you in our lobby and get an instant result, and then go from there. Yeah.
Right. And then you have another protocol that if a person does test positive, they're taken somewhere, quarantined, and then those results are sent to another lab to make sure it's not a false positive.
Correct.
Because that you've never had to do that as yet, but you have that as a secondary backup, just in case the first test was incorrect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
you guys are doing great work. Great work. Then I want to ask you one other thing. I want to ask you two things.
Sure.
And then, because we've been here for a minute, then we'll do part 2 on a Zoom, and I'll put that on my app for people to see.
Cool.
But I wanted to ask you one. See, what question went on my mind? But I'll go with this question, and then we'll get to a little bit more of this question later. But you shared how the plant medicine and all the modalities that you've been going through you have breath work there, you have meditation, you have the whole deal. That it saw something devastating. It showed you something that happened to you as a toddler.
Yes.
That caused the split in your soul. that you
Yeah.
had buried it. It was like the genesis of your anger and the genesis of the way you just going through life as a boisterous bad boy, you
Yes.
know, and you saw it. Would you break that down for a moment, if you don't
Yeah,
mind?
sure. So I actually went to the moon, and on these plant medicines, you pretty much split. You disassociate. Your spirit goes, and your consciousness goes with it. So you're watching this stuff. I went to the moon. I watched a video of my grandfather molesting me. I never knew about it on Earth, but when I saw it, I remembered it, and this was the reason for, my drinking, my drug use, my womanizing, my sex addiction, all of that stuff. And what's interesting is it's not the molestation, it's the split. It's the being you decide that it's not safe for you to be your whole soul, and you just split into this new personality that becomes a tough. It just becomes something else, and the next thing you know, that person is running the show.
Right.
running
Right.
the show,
Right.
you know.
And that's exactly the truth. That's what I teach, that you develop personalities and a constellation of personalities as a protection from your personalities emerge from experience, whereas your soul is eternal. And your personality is running the show, and not all personality is bad, but your personality constructs are running the show until there's a healing, and then more and more of the real you begins to show up. So when you saw that, you remembered that you ran away from it as an infant. It was too big to handle.
Yep.
So you
Too
developed
much.
the personality to protect yourself, to go through life. And
Yep.
then obviously you had a lot of destructive behavior until you woke up. Now, obviously there had to be some kind of forgiveness around that.
Yeah, what was so interesting though for me is that, I really hated myself, Rev. When I met you, you knew that, And when I saw what happened to me as a boy, like I fell in love with me. I thought, wow, like what, how did I call this in? I called this in, so that this could occur. And yet it was so hard, and like you just fall in love. When you watch the movie of your life, you're always the hero, and then then it gets like I got in love with my light parts and my not so light parts, and the more that you fall in love with that, the more that the light tends to emerge, right? It's the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I appreciate the way that when people come into the Life Advancement Center, known as Rhythmia, you as a part of the introduction, you share your whole story.
Absolutely.
With everybody that comes in, from the beginning, the darkness you walk through, all the way through the integration of the light, all the way through the vision of Rhythmia and up to present moment. And I was sharing before you came on the line just what a great storyteller you are, in terms of, actually bringing a level of humor to things that are very morose, very dark, very destructive aspect of your life. You make people laugh at you. You're kind of laughing at yourself.
Yes.
As you're moving through, your own hero's journey, and just that alone is worth the ticket to go to Rhythmia. You become quite the wordsmith, my brother.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. Listen, I think this is a good time to break right now. We've introduced people to you. They know that Rhythmia is the #1 resort on TripAdvisor. They know the safety protocols around it if they choose to come. We know that, you have yoga, daily yoga. You have breath work. You have the dance of freedom. Dance is really powerful. Dance of freedom there with Pure Shakti. You have the Answer Is You teaching. You have this special kind of colonic. Tell us about that. It's different than normal colonic.
A water-free, a free colonic system, not pressurized. And so It's like, natural water flow, and it works great with the medicine because the medicine kind of detoxifies you, and then that falls down. What the medicine doesn't get out of you, that it stays in your intestines, and the cleanse gets it out of you. People, I have to tell you, Rev, when people leave here, like, I'm not kidding you. So many people write me and say, "Oh, my friend thought that I had plastic surgery," because their skin clears up. The skin clears up and tightens up. Their eyes are bright and white, like they really look like different people. You know?
Yeah.
They really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. So you have plant medicine, special free-flowing colonics, breath work, yoga, dance of liberation. Obviously, that
True.
good food. Meg has her own. She's on the Rhythmia Instagram talking about her concoctions and recipes. She has the wonderful. I guess it's straight from farm to table, organic food. You just put
as
in a
much of it.
pool. What was that?
Yeah. As much of the food
pool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful place, and obviously I love teaching there, and I'll be back there in July, the last week of June, first week of July of this year, and very powerful. So before we go to part 2, and I want people to understand that we know about your guys' attention span, so we're not going to keep going on and on and on in this particular interview, but if you go to michaelbbeckwith.com, you can get my app, and part 2 will be on my app. And
cool.
So Gerard, any last comments you want to say for part 2?
No, and Rev, I'm forever grateful. Thank you for, like, I call you up and talk to you, with nobody looking all the time, right? We talk all the time. I love speaking with you. You're a light. You're my teacher, and you really show me the way to go. I appreciate you immensely, Rev. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate and this particular season, and I've been teaching for 40 years. Okay, I mean 35 at Agape, and then 5 years before that doing seminars, workshops, being a practitioner, therapist, that whole deal. But in this particular season, I love the people that from Agape that go out and do stuff. You know what I mean? Like the students that go find their Dharma and they do it. You found yours and you're doing it. I look at Akuyo Graham, who started Spirit Awakening. She's doing it. I can name a lot of students that of their own right are out in the world making a big difference in people's lives. And that's what really turns me on these days. It's just watching the people come through, heal themselves, find what they're supposed to be doing, and then going for it and making a difference. So I applaud you in your own transformation and your own willingness, because people have no idea what it's like to run something. I mean, they see you laughing and smiling right now, but they have no idea what it really means to be the CEO. You're having to balance numbers and finances and staff and personalities and all the different intricate things that you have to do to keep things going. People just come, do the stuff, leave, but they don't know what's behind the scenes and what it takes to bring this into expression. And they don't know what's behind the scene to do Agape. There's like 30 ministries, and there's staff and equipment, and there's fundraising, and there's all kinds of stuff, And so I applaud you for stepping out there and being a leader, and you're the one that's taking the headwind, all the wind. You're the one that's taking the headwind first, and then there are people with you, walking with you, and it's a dynamic life. It's not boring.
No way. And listen, the beautiful part about being us, we got to be both feet in all the time. We're in it. Like there's no, I kind of want to be doing Agape, or I kind of want to be doing rhythmia. We are in it. Yeah.
You're fully immersed.
Yep.
And come what may.
You got
Come
it.
what may, good, bad, indifferent, but fully immersed in it. And then we get to change and transform every year. We can't, because we can't live in a comfort zone or the zone of convenience. It's always on the edge of becoming the next version of ourself, which is to the personality is scary, but to the soul it's blissful.
I love it. I love it. Right.
So Gerard, thank you very much, man.
Thanks, Fred.
I'll be with you on the Zoom in just a moment.
Okay.
And thank you for your time.
Should I say?
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Say goodbye to the folks.
Goodbye, guys.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.